I have to admit that I can't imagine there is anybody left in the world with a pulse that doesn't see and understand that we are living in the craziest times we've ever lived in. And it just keeps getting crazier. And we have to ask ourselves why and what's really going on here. For the last, I guess it's been about 8 years now, since about 2015, 2016, when Donald Trump first announced his candidacy for president. If you remember, there were so many things pointing us to the political realm at that time. A lot of us, for the first time in our lives, we had never been interested in politics. May have thought Obama was a bad guy. Some might have thought Obama was a good guy, but never really digging into the gritty details of what politics was. Until Donald Trump came in. And somehow the division that he is, the lightning rod that he is in this earth, caused the entire world to go from not really caring what goes on in the political realm into basically putting all of their energy into the political realm. And thinking that we finally had a politician that could save us. Donald J. Trump. And Trump did a lot of good things. A lot of good things. I was a fan for the first 3 years, mostly. Simply because it was easy to look around the world and look around the country, I should say, and around the world, but mostly in our country, it was easy to look around and see things had gotten better on the surface for the first 3 years. And then March 13th of 2020 came. The day Trump stood there with Fauci and Birx and Pence and announced that the entire country was going to be shut down. And right away, any of us who really understood what was going on here and who had been absorbing the information that we had been bombarded with since about 2015 about learning what the world really was and how it really operated, that all of a sudden started to come out of nowhere right in 2015, all over YouTube, learning this, learning that, learning about central banking systems, learning about all these things that never in our lives had we ever really thought about or learned about. All of a sudden, we were all learning. That wasn't by chance, you know? That wasn't by chance. We're being socially engineered, all of us. And I'll tell you why, ultimately, at the end of this video, exactly why the social engineering part of this agenda that the world has against us, the rulers of the world have against us, that the social engineering is the most dangerous part, because it's the part that's ultimately going to deceive you when God's judgment completes. We're in it already. But as Trump stood there and shut down the country, immediately I was like, nope, he's part of the problem. This is going to change the entire trajectory of the world. You can't just shut down the world for a virus and then fire it back up a few months or years later and have everything continue working. Never. Impossible. And right away I was like, what is this? What is Trump doing? Is he this dumb that he can't see through this lie? Is he this dumb? Or is he playing the game? Is he doing exactly what he was sent to do? See, Trump's mission right in 2016 and 2017 through the beginning of 2020 was to show you what a ruler who cared about the people could actually do. If he actually put his nation first, actually put America first, show you what he could do. And he did, for the most part, a decent job. But then March 13th of 2020 happened, and he was in lockstep 100% with the leaders of the world. I don't care what you say. And shortly thereafter, what did he do? He created Operation Warp Speed, that to this day he still boasts about. Operation Warp Speed. Now, don't think that it was no big conspiracy. I know there's all these weird mega conspiracies about what Operation Warp Speed really was. It's not that. It's not that, and I don't want to get into it. Operation Warp Speed was the veil that was used to unleash these things on the earth. And Donald Trump is the father of it. And I lost track of how many times in the last few years still that he proclaims himself the father of the great vaccine and has promoted it and never renounced it. So think of Trump what you will. If he was that easily deceived in 2020, what makes you think anything otherwise would happen in the future? Honestly. Now here's the real deal, though, when it comes to all of this. See, all of the energy that you have put into political stuff is wasted. Jesus on this earth did not get involved in politics. I have a video on this channel. It's called Let's Talk About God and Politics. I suggest you watch that because you'll quickly understand there is no such thing as God and country. Jesus does not look at it that way at all. And we are in the second seal of Revelation chapter 6, the second seal of God's judgment, the fiery red horse of war we're in already. We are in God's judgment. The 7 seals that will play out. And what Lucifer is doing right now, using people like Donald Trump that seem like real good guys, seem like good guys doing good things, the Vladimir Putins of the world, that are trying to expose lies and expose evil. You know, whatever happened to lock her up? Whatever happened to build the wall? You know, whatever happened to release the Kraken? Whatever happened to drain the swamp? All promises setting the table for the future. The future, which is when the light side of Lucifer's kingdom, in his grand deception to deceive as many as he can within the judgment of God that's happening right now. Within that grand deception, Lucifer decided he needed to show the world good leaders to trust in, because he wants his leader, the beast of Revelation 13, the first beast of Revelation 13, he wants his leader to be worshipped. And he will only be worshipped simply because he exposes the lies of the world, takes back the world for his people, for the people, you know, for the people. I serve the people. But ultimately, what will be employed is a worldwide communistic government. And the confusing time only ends when we understand the one truth of this age. And the one truth of this age is the revelation of Jesus Christ. Revelation 22, chapter 7 said, "Blessed is he who keeps the words of this prophecy and of this book." Blessed means sanctified by God, because we understand the path the world is actually going to go in exactly. And that Jesus never once spoke of a rapture. You have to understand, in Thessalonica, when Paul wrote the letter that people point to as the rapture, okay, this was 40 years before the revelation of Jesus Christ was ever written. I believe it was written around the year 96. The revelation of Jesus Christ was written 40 years after Paul wrote that letter to the Thessalonians about being caught up in the air and all of those things. And he wasn't wrong. He just had the timeline wrong. And I've always said in so many of my videos, God tells us what we need to know when we need to know it. And at that time, Paul didn't need to know the details of the revelation of Jesus Christ. And I have to believe that the apostles even debated among themselves, what's the return of Christ going to look like? Like we all do still, but we shouldn't. And see, Jesus answered that by giving us the prophecy of the revelation of Jesus Christ and saying, here is your playbook, okay? Here is your exact playbook of how God's judgment and the end of this 2,000-year age is going to look like. And I'll show you exactly what it all means when it's the right time. Guess what? It's the right time. We need to know now to overcome this grand deception, this good cop grand deception of the beast, Vladimir Putin. We need to know exactly what it means. And in January of Revelation, of what Revelation means, in January of 2022, I had relaunched my old Beast System Revealed channel a third time at this moment, 14 months ago. And I relaunched it in October of 2021, and I'd been making videos and things like that. I wasn't understanding the revelation of Jesus Christ. I still was a little bit too involved in politics. I was preaching some messages that had a lot of value, but they weren't understanding what the end of the age actually was, that we were in it, that here are the seals, here's how they play out. You're here, you're going there and there and there through those seals. And in January, so I was making all these videos and really kind of learning how to do that in the way I began to. And then in January of 2022, Revelation was opened to me wide, out of nowhere. God had in my spirit since I was 17 years old, right when I came to him, Travis, read Revelation. And I would try, and I'd start reading, I'd be like, I don't get it. How could I make any sense out of this? Well, I couldn't make any sense out of it at the time because it wasn't time yet. 1993, we were still 30 years away from where we are right now. Judgment of God. We didn't need to know that, but it always was in me. Travis, if you read it, you'll understand it. Well, guess what? January of 2022, I finally started to read it in a sequence that he took me in exactly to understand what it was teaching verbatim and how perfectly it aligned with this exact time in history. And the first thing I said to God was, the rulers of the world are just copying this verbatim. They're just copying exactly what this says. He said, yep, they're bound to the spiritual principles of their creator. They fulfill prophecy because they must. He says to me, I'm like, wow, because the parallels are so strong. And so I got excited to preach like I have never been excited to in my life, since maybe I preached in front of my English class when I was 18, But I got excited and I started doing live stream after live stream after live stream, just going live on my Beast System Revealed channel. I'd get 40 viewers most of the time or so, and I would teach the revelation of Jesus Christ in real time and what it meant and exactly what was going on. And I couldn't believe, even as I was teaching, I was learning, and the Spirit was sharing with me so many things that I couldn't believe in real time that would relay into the perfect words. And I'm like, I'm gonna have to watch this whole thing all over again because I just learned a bunch. I don't want to forget it when I'd get done. He opened it wide. And I did that for several months. And then the World War started. And that added when Putin invaded Ukraine in March of 2022. And that added to my understanding of Revelation, because that, that was the exact moment that I realized we had already been in the first seal. The corona, the crown, and the bow. The crown and the bow. I'm like, Lord, we have already been in the first seal for 2 years. I didn't know it was the seals that we were in. He's like, yep, now start looking. And then the fiery red horse of war, when Putin launched what will be a world war on this land, even in the United States. As I keep saying, we have to watch for that and trust in the Spirit through it. But he opened it wide at that time. And then a bunch of other things happened in my life thereafter. Disastrous things, absolutely disastrous things. In March and April of last year. Some were my fault, some were unexplainable. And I went through, and I retired from my channel. I made the Beast Revealed video on March 17th of 2022 saying Vladimir Putin is the first beast of Revelation 13. Here's why. It's on this channel. If you go way back, I re-uploaded it when I relaunched this channel last fall. But you know, so April I made my movie The Sevens, and if you ever watch The Sevens, I think you'll get an idea of what I was going through at that time. And I retired from YouTube, I retired from all social media, and I went dark. Basically no contact with anybody, mostly one person, really, through all of that. And I traveled on Amtrak trains, and I made a documentary called Who is God? The Midnight Ride Part 1. And I talked to so many people about God, and I talked to so many people who would never go into a church about the revelation of Jesus Christ and teaching them what it meant and showing them how it aligned. And the people you would never imagine would get it, the most left-wing, liberal, we want to say lunatics, got it. Got it completely. And they're like, God is real. God is real. When you understand the message of revelation that cuts through all of the lies, and then all of the lies that are taught about revelation. That's the biggest problem, is so many people trying to interpret it. In my 10 video study on this channel, I didn't interpret it. I read every word, and I told you exactly what it meant. Every single word from chapter 1 to chapter 22, every word. Because I know that is the truth of the actual revelation of Jesus Christ, not people's interpretations of it. The actual revelation of Jesus Christ and what it says and what it teaches, that cuts through every lie. It cuts through every lie. And I'll hear certain preachers and stuff trying to preach on revelation, and they're so far out of context on things and saying things, and I'm like, please, would you stop trying to interpret revelation? If you don't understand it, don't teach it. You're just confusing the real message. And then you come across somebody like me, who's this Travis dude, think he is interpreting the revelation of Jesus Christ and saying he's got all the answers of what's in Revelation. I don't. The Holy Spirit does. But you come across me and then you think, well, there's another guy interpreting it. I'm not. I'm not doing this for your views, man. I don't make a dime off this channel. I haven't made a dime off a channel in 3 years. I don't want you. I'm doing it because I'm fulfilling the calling that God has had on me my entire life. And explaining to you, as I've learned that it took me my entire life to get me here at 46 years old, to stand here and explain to you, I know what the revelation of Jesus Christ means, and I know exactly what it teaches. And although I may be off on a few little details here and there, like one I had to correct when I got deeper in the series, I corrected one little detail. You know, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. I'm not doing this for money. I'm not doing this to prove I'm right about anything. I'm doing it for you to understand the truth of the age. I'm doing it for you to understand that the only truth that cuts through everything is the revelation of Jesus Christ. It is what we need to understand if we're going to survive this age. Watch my series. I beg you, for your family, for your friends, for anyone you can share it with. It's on a playlist on this channel. NoLongerLost.quest also has it. If you go to NoLongerLost.quest, it's laid out on the homepage. If you scroll down a little bit, it'll say the Revelation of Jesus Christ series, and they're all laid out there. Or on a playlist on this channel called The Revelation of Jesus Christ. 10 videos, about 8 hours of content. I make no money off of it. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to sell you the actual truth of what Jesus gave us almost 2,000 years ago.